Welcome to BevCam's production of Conversations with Candidates. I'm Gina Coburn, and I'm your host for this segment. And today we will be talking to Maria Decker, who is candidate for school committee in Ward 6. Welcome, Maria.
Thanks, Jenna.
So, first question, why are you running again, Maria?
Again, after 8 years, right? That's a good question. There's really going to be a change in leadership between the superintendent. We have an interim superintendent right now, and a change in leadership on the city side with the mayor changing. So I believe it is very important to have some continuity, and that person would be me. As the current president of the school committee going forward, I have my hand in a lot of the things and really have taken an initiative and lead on a lot of projects that we have going on right now.
And what do you feel are the biggest challenges facing the school, the Beverly school system at this time?
Today, well, first would be looking for the superintendent. We have an interim superintendent with us right now, and we're in the midst of a superintendent search. So finding the individual who will take our district, which is a very good district, to the next level. Focus groups have been done with community members, and a survey was conducted by Endicott College that shows that the community is really looking for not just a qualified candidate, but someone who will be engaged in the community. So we need to find that person and help that person along. That would be one big challenge going on. The second would be our middle school project. So I think everybody would agree that Briscoe is an obsolete building and really doesn't meet the needs of a 21st century education. So we are working with the Massachusetts School Building Authority to get that project down in the capital pipeline. And then the third thing that I see as an issue for the public schools is communication. We are really moving away from print media to social media, and we've tried to enhance communication with the public and continue to see that as something to work on.
And what are your thoughts about the recruiting process for the new superintendent?
So the current interim superintendent has been targeted to spearhead that search for us. He's a retired superintendent and working for us on an interim basis, but in between when he left his superintendency and working for us, he worked for a superintendent search firm. So he did that for, I believe, a handful of years. So he's doing a dual capacity for us, and he did a nationwide search. I think there were 45 individuals who expressed interest in the position, 33 of whom got their full packets in by the deadline. He informed the school committee a few weeks ago that he was interviewing 16 individuals and will be passing on 9 individuals to the selection committee. And then the full school committee will do a complete vet of that individual, interview them, go out to where they are currently in their position, and those will be public interviews.
And how does that timeline cross the election, the re-election timeline?
Back in April, the school committee, and really at the urging of a couple of our members who had come in when Dr. Galinsky was appointed, and it was the first thing on their agenda, said, you can't do that to a new person. And we were sensitive to that. And so said, we are going to start this process early, and did the advertising early. And so the timeline is such that we will name that person before December is out.
Oh, before December.
And
Okay,
that person may not start, because wherever they are, they may have to give notice.
But the decision will
will be made.
Okay. If reelected, what will you do to bring new school committee members, the new members of the committee that have just been elected, on board and up to date with the responsibilities of the group and the inner workings of the group?
When all of us had started as school committee members, we met with the superintendent on an individual basis to catch up, and I imagine that the current superintendent would do that. In addition, most of us met with the whoever was chair or president of the school committee at that time. And a lot of the candidates in going for city office have asked to meet with me just to catch up on what are the issues in schools going on right now and in the district. So I would certainly make myself available to any individual that was new to do that, as I have in the past, and I would encourage them to do that with all of the members. Most people are attending our meetings or watching them online, so they're up to date.
Good. So you've been in office for 8 years. Mm-hmm. What are some of your most notable accomplishments that you want to remind your voters of?
Thank you for that. The middle school project. About 2 weeks ago, the Massachusetts School Building Authority voted unanimously, their board of directors voted unanimously to move the project for a new middle school for the city into what is called the eligibility phase. And if I go back 3 years, at the time Dr. Galinsky was working on a strategic plan, and she gave each of the school committee members an opportunity to serve either on the larger group or on an ad hoc group, and assigned me to facilities planning, and worked with some members of the public and parents and teachers and administrators, a real cross-section of individuals from the city, to move forward and say, look at some enrollment, look at the facilities we have, and what is best practice going forward. And out of that group came a middle school was certainly in need of that. And so 2 statements of interest were written. The mayor spearheaded those, and I worked with him. The superintendent assigned the middle school principal to be the liaison on the administrative side. 2 of those have gone in, and the latest one, as I said, was just approved to go into the eligibility phase. So I worked for about 3 years on getting that to the point where it is today, and continue to work to move that forward into the capital pipeline. The other thing is communication. That's important to me. We're really, as I said, moving away from print media, and people get their information in a different way. So a couple of years ago, I started a biannual newsletter, and that goes out in our water and sewer bills twice a year in the fall, either October, November, December. It's a rolling kind of billing, and then again in the spring. And it catches people up on some things that they may not be otherwise aware. So our October, November one that's coming out this year talks about new faces in central office. It talks about the superintendent search and green initiatives in the school. I've increased the amount of televised school committee meetings that BevCam is doing for us. And we really enhanced the annual report and then information available on the website, to the point where some people are saying there's too much available on the website and we need to do something about that. So I see going forward working with that, and then some social media as a way to get the information, communication out there to people. And the other thing is I'm very visible. I'm involved. I have a lot of energy, so I tend to go to as many events as possible and make sure that people have a means to get in touch with me and be responsive to their needs.
So looking back on your very first year, if you can remember that year on the school committee, knowing what you know today, what might have you done different?
Okay, going back 8 years. Interesting. What might I have done differently? My background coming into the school committee might be different than many people, because I taught in the district. So I had that inside information. I had children in the district. I'm a graduate of the district, and I'm an educator by profession. I'm a college professor. I served on the site council at the high school, and I served on various PTOs. So I sort of wore many hats and had a broad background. What I would have done differently, Jenna? Maybe my personal filing at home would have been a little bit different, because I have shelves and shelves of information, and that's probably the toughest thing. I know I have everything, and I know it's somewhere, so finding and getting my fingers on it. My online stuff is very organized, but the paper is certainly the thing that would be better organized.
All right. And how do you balance, how do you balance your roles as a school committee member, a taxpayer, and a parent?
So I'm all of those things, and at different times you're wearing a different hat. So when I am going to my daughter's open house at school, or when I am going to parents' afternoon back, I'm a parent. And that's what I want to be seen as, because out of respect for her. There are opportunities for me to do that, and sometimes somebody will say something to me in the hall and approach me as a school committee person, and I can flip that switch. But when I'm in a classroom for her, I'm a parent first, and try to remind people of that, and teachers, I'm here as Caroline's mom and nothing else. I have a lot of energy, and I have a good ability to multitask, and to at the same time keep different my roles. So just in coming here to the studio tonight, as I was parking my car, one of my students at the college was outside playing football, and he yelled over, "Hey, Professor Decker, I know we have an exam tomorrow," and I'm just getting my yayas out playing football while I, study. I can do the same thing.
And what about a taxpayer? Any where you've had a conflict of decisions as looking out for the school system that could potentially affect your life as a taxpayer?
For me personally, that doesn't come into mind.
Okay.
So my role as a school committee person, and that hat is always what's going to be on when I'm making a decision. What's best for the city as a whole and the students in the district.
Okay. And do you have, and I think we touched on this, but I'm going to ask it again. Have you had a situation, or do you think that any of your personal interests have ever conflicted with your role as a school committee member?
The only personal interest that I have is doing what's best for the children in the district. Really, they're the benefactors of everything that we should all do. Student achievement and making the best opportunity for them.
So new homeowners in Beverly, I'm sure you've run across a bunch of them, and they may have children, they may not have children, and there are a couple, they've got their new house, a couple years into it, and then and I'm sure you have encountered this, because I still encounter it. Do I go? Do I stay? Do I go private? Do I go public? So how do you respond to those?
It's a personal decision. That's the bottom line. But I certainly know that the Beverly Public Schools are a comprehensive place to be. There is something there for everybody. There are people who leave the district for a couple of years and then come back, or come for the first time, and they're always pleasantly surprised. They might hear something. I say the Beverly Public Schools, like the city of Beverly, is really a microcosm of society. And you won't be sheltered. You will be exposed to a lot of different things, whether it's sign language or 4 foreign languages at the high school, athletic opportunities, co-curricular activities, people from all sorts of backgrounds. I think it's the most wonderful thing that we can expose our children to. And the faculty and the staff that we have are certainly dedicated and wonderful and professional.
Okay. How did you feel? So the most recent headline that we've had, I believe Beverly schools have had on News Outside of Beverly, was the sexting scandal. As I'm, getting up in the morning ready to go to work, and I saw it, and I can tell you how did you feel seeing that on the news?
Well, I think that exists anywhere. Seeing it on the news, they need to sell newspapers, and what they put on the front page is certainly up to them. I appreciate the way in which it was handled by the administration, that you're talking about 13 and 14-year-olds and trying to use it as an educational opportunity. But the bottom line for that is it was up to the police on how to handle that. And so we respected, or the administration respected their decision on how to move forward with it. But it exists, unfortunately, and we need to do the best we can with teaching the students of today how to properly use technology and the permanency of it. And like that middle school age child, which is what these were, they don't quite get that.
Oh, there's adults that don't get it.
That's true. That's true.
If you're not reelected, will you stay involved, and how? And if so, how?
Let's see. From when I grew up in Beverly, I have always been involved, invested in the community. Whether it was when I was volunteering as a 14-year-old, or serving as a tutor in high school, or running my first blood drive when I was 17 years old, part of me is always dedicated to service in the community. I was a Girl Scout leader. I still run blood drives. I've been doing that for close to 30-something years. So I am invested in Beverly. It's why Dave and I chose to raise our family here and return back here after we got married, and I will do whatever I can to keep the community moving forward. And as an educator, education is important to me, so I would be involved in that some capacity.
And how would you, looking now to the viewers, and we've talked about this over a lot of topics, but overall, why should they vote for you?
Why should they vote for me? I have experience. I have proven leadership. I am an energetic, positive, decisive, tactful, diplomatic person with a calm temperament and a good ability to listen and deliberate thoughtfully. And the experience between the experience on the school committee and my experience as an educator, I really have what it takes to give that full picture.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Maria, because for coming here and talking to our viewers. This is great for BevCam to provide the opportunity to get to know you. Of course, they do know you, but to get to know you as a candidate. And so just a reminder, Maria is running for Ward 6 School Committee. And don't forget to vote. And thank you to BevCam.
Thank you, Jenna.
Maria.
Thank you.